important to us as a society.
Back in Peru, the dire need for new antibiotics is starkly apparent. Despite the growing epidemic, not a single new TB drug has been developed in 30 years. Working on a shoestring budget, Paul Farmer and Jim Kim are still trying to cure their small group of patients with drug-resistant TB. With medicines brought in from Boston, they've designed cocktails of rare drugs that each patient must take for 2 entire years. It's a daunting challenge.
When you're sick with tuberculosis caused by a strain like this, a very resistant strain, you have one shot. And it should be very aggressive. Lots of drugs, high doses, never miss a dose, because the microbe can hang out and then resurface later.
To manage the side effects and make sure every pill is swallowed, Partners in Health hires and trains workers from the community. But many fear visiting highly contagious patients in their homes.
They asked us questions like, well, you're asking us to take care of these patients and we're scared. Aren't you scared? And I'll never forget, the answer that Paul gave was, yeah, I'm scared. Everyone's scared. But look, it's in the community, and the only way to deal with this is to take it head on.
One nurse willing to take the risk is Lorena Mastava. Although it's dangerous, she chooses not to wear a protective mask, so patients like Raquel won't feel stigmatized.
It's not that the masks are physically uncomfortable, but it's like speaking to patients through a window. I want to be close to them, so the mask is like a barrier.
For Lorena, winning a patient's trust is crucial, especially when she must convince them to take medicines that cause horrible side effects. One of Lorena's toughest cases is Antonio. As he struggled to work his way through school, he became infected. At age 21, he weighs only 66 pounds. For 12 months, Lorena has been treating Antonio with 6 different drugs.
The pills are hurting me. It's getting worse.
Antonio is having a lot of stomach problems because of the drugs. He struggles with nausea, as well as fatigue, depression, and joint pains.
Those early months were the most difficult, because here we were giving treatment that no one had heard of, with drugs that no one had heard of. And while they were getting better in some ways, they were also really sick with side effects. So we had to go and stand by them and convince them, please, you need to continue taking your medicines, because if you don't, you're going to die.
As Partners in Health urges patients to stick to the treatment, they still don't know if the 2-year experiment will actually work.
I think that we all had doubts. Privately, we're thinking, oh my God, this is so hard to get the medicines, to get the patients to think about their nutritional issues, the side effects, but it was a nightmare. Every day we had doubts.
One of the biggest headaches is keeping up with the demand for medicines. Jim Kim must carry the drugs by hand into Peru. If he stopped, patients could miss doses, more resistance could develop, and their treatment would fail. On most trips, Kim breezes past customs officials without having his bag searched. But one day, the inspectors are curious.
So I opened these suitcases with incredible dread. They saw that they were medicines, and I had my little piece of paper that said, "This is a donation from Harvard Medical School." But of course, anything that looks slightly suspicious, they just take everything.
This time, Kim talks his way out. But his Robin Hood approach is reaching its limits. Partners in Health must find a new way to get medicines. But first, they have to wait for lab results to prove that the drugs are actually working. For one patient, the signs are not good. Despite new drugs, X-rays reveal that TB still consumes Raquel's lungs.
There is no improvement in my condition. I don't know why. Maybe I'm too resistant. I've been told to stop taking my medications because they no longer have any effect on me. I don't know what drugs I'm going to receive next.
It turns out that Raquel is carrying a strain of bacteria resistant to virtually all TB drugs. But she appears to be in the minority. Tests confirm that Antonio is no longer infectious. If he can endure his antibiotics for a few more months, he will be totally cured. Julia is also disease-free after battling TB for years. As more positive results pour in, Partners in Health's huge gamble pays off. From a group of patients considered incurable, 85% are disease-free. No one had believed they could do it. Now, foundations and companies begin to donate drugs legitimately. Partners' dramatic success would have a global impact. Instead of letting multi-drug resistant patients die, the World Health Organization now recommends a treatment plan modeled on Peru. Unfortunately, worldwide funding for such programs has fallen short. Of the estimated 500,000 victims with multi-drug resistant TB, only a fraction is being treated correctly. As a result, the disease is spreading.
Multi-drug resistant tuberculosis is dangerous, scary, and a huge public health threat. So that if we don't take the steps for all of us to work together, and the wealthier nations helping the poorer nations, all of us are going to become ill.
For Jim Kim, it makes economic sense to act quickly.
If you don't treat it now, and if you don't spend the money now, you're going to spend much, much more money later.
And this is true for all infectious diseases.
MDR-TB is part of the larger problem, the crisis of drug resistance. And you just go down the list of the big killers: malaria, AIDS, tuberculosis, bacterial infections that take lives in hospitals. Drug resistance is already a huge problem. So all of our best drugs could be obsolete with each of these diseases. We should be thinking ahead.
The specter of totally drug-resistant infections now haunts the world. With no antibiotics to save her, Raquel passed away. Her son Bruno has also tested positive for